Good morning and welcome to Game 7 Mindset. I'm your host, Trevor Topping, here for some NFL thoughts after a very average year, below average betting for me on the NFL, and a weird year in the NFL as we've got some new young studs in Joe Burrow and Josh Allen and company trying to figure it out. Tom Brady's got some banged up wide receivers, and the Chiefs haven't quite figured it out on offense. Who's going to show up? Can the Packers get it done? That chemistry with Devontae and Aaron looks pretty lethal. Their defense, the Bucs defense, Chiefs defense all seem a little suspect. Does Matty Stafford have what it takes on a real team now to lead his team to a Super Bowl? Let's get into it. First game, we got two games on Saturday, which is a blessing for this weekend. We've got the Bengals and Raiders at first. In Cincinnati, temperatures in the low 30s, it looks like. These teams played each other already, and it was 32-13 Bengals. Spreads at 5.5. That game was actually closer than you'd think. It was 13-6 at the end of the third quarter. The Bengals put it on them in the fourth. With that Raiders front group rushing Burrow and the offensive line being pretty poor for the Bengals, I'm going to think Joe Mixon is going to have a lot of touches and be involved, maybe getting it out of quick first screens or quick passes to Joe, or they fed him 30 times in their first matchup. So player prop-wise, I'm looking at Joe Mixon. The Raiders have won 4 in a row. Kind of a sleeper pick here if you wanted to take some plus money, but I'm going to roll with Burrow and the boys. First playoff game for either team, and I think 15 or 18 years. So there's going to be some pressure on the young Burrow. So that I do like that for an upset when you got a young guy and a lot of pressure from the whole city to bring a win at least in the postseason, and a Super Bowl is the goal, right? And Derek Carr is a veteran. He's been around it. He's got Waller back. Waller had over 100 yards the first time they played, so maybe that looked to him for a player prop with Renfro. And I think Bengals are going to squeak by here, but I do think it's going to be closer than their first matchup. And if that front four can get on Burrow, because they've got some good pass rushers with Crosby on the Raiders and company, that could make for a very interesting game. Which leads us to our 8:15 game, which is going to be 0 degrees. Josh Allen, an absolute stud and a guy I would roll with here, versus the Pats with Belichick, who is going to throw everything on offense and defense and creativity to confuse Josh and to confuse Buffalo's D with some creative quick passes, run plays, reverses, you name it. You'll see it with the Pats. Josh Allen's stats apparently, and I've looked him up here. He hasn't been passing super efficient. Their offense has been spotty all year. Looks like he's even worse when it's cold. And again, that's most quarterbacks outside of a few, Tom Brady being the main one there that seems to fight through the cold pretty well. I think this is going to be an absolute dogfight and probably come down to the last 2 minutes and who has the ball. And I've got to lean Josh. I would maybe even look for the unders here on maybe some of Josh's passing yards or completions. Maybe overall score, again, it being super cold. Bill, super defensive oriented. Bill's defense and Sean McDermott, pretty defense oriented. So I'm thinking this is going to be like a 2017 absolute dogfight. And I'm going to roll with Josh Allen and Joe Burrow in the first 2 picks, and that's chalky. So I don't know that I'm going to bet that much this week. I'm probably going to let these teams play out and see how everyone looks in the first round and look to maybe hammer some second-round bets. But Bengals and Bills are tough to bet against as you look at the Saturday games. And going to Sunday, we've got some interesting info for this game. So it's apparently going to rain, which is not good for Tom and the boys. Massive Brady fan here and would love to bet the ranch on him in this game. I'm a money line guy and like to parlay a couple together, but 415, minus 415 is a tough one to parlay. The Eagles have covered. They're 10-1 in their last postseason game, in their last 11 postseason games as an underdog and covering. And they've won 6 of those 11 games outright as an underdog. So if you can buy the point and get it to 10 or 10.5, I think it's at 8, kind of fluctuating between 8 and 9.5 right now. With rain and the way that Bucs defense is playing, the Eagles plus money, and I'm not just saying this to reverse jinx my boy Tom and hope that they win, but Eagles defense is probably like the 4th defense that I think plays Tom tough. The Saints, the Rams, and the Dolphins, for whatever reason, have always been tough places and defenses for Tom to get wins at. When Tom plays down in Miami against the Rams in the Super Bowl and earlier this year, and the Saints and Sean Payton have just had his number. So the Eagles are another team that have a sneaky tough defense. Fletcher Cox and the boys can get up the middle, and they know that's what Tom gets aggravated at the most, with that rush up the middle where it breaks down the pocket, and old man can't go outside like the younger guys can. So again, unders maybe on Tom's stats, because it's going to be tough for him to throw the ball if it's wet. He's going to look for Gronk a lot. So Gronk is a player prop maybe that if you want to party with Gronk, maybe a Mike Evans TD for like a fade or something in the rain, back shoulder. And I'm taking Jalen Hurts rush yards over. So I think Jalen's going to get out of the pocket. And when he does, he's going to make the Bucs defense, which has just holes in it, pay. And so let's look out for the rush yards over there and see what they set it at. And I'm probably taking it no matter what it's set at, and probably between 55 yards-ish, right around there. Old Cowboys, 49ers. The 4:30 game on Sunday. I've just learned not to trust Dallas. I love Dak Prescott. Would lean, to betting on Dallas. But as far as plus money and what we've got so far, I think the 49ers have the best chance. And really, you're just kind of betting on if Garoppolo doesn't throw an interception, they will probably win. If he does, they'll lose. There's some wild stats of his win-loss ratio, and he basically doesn't lose when he doesn't throw an interception. Jimmy's hard to trust. Dak and Mike McCarthy and the Cowboys are hard to trust. So I lean like plus money maybe if you want to bet. But the Cowboys will probably win their first round matchup and lose in the second round. But I have learned to never trust the Cowboys. If you think Dak will go off, I would hit all his player props. Mitchell for the 49ers could have a good day as far as an RB, or you take Debo on a player prop. I'm not looking to touch any part of Dallas's player props outside of maybe, Dak will throw a lot probably and take his over on completions or yardage. And the 49ers coach, Mike Shanahan, pretty creative coach, and he will have his boys ready and probably more disciplined than Mike McCarthy's team. And so I would fade the Cowboys as far as someone I'm betting this weekend. Chiefs, Steelers, that I'm looking at Kelsey player props here and think he will have a lot of catches and yards, and they'll probably win by 10. 12.5 is a lot of points. Big Ben said they have no chance, trying to throw some jinx out, reverse jinx juju, announcer's curse type stuff out there, and we'll see. I think the Steelers will probably get handled, but typically when you think that, the exact opposite happens, and they probably end up showing up and making it a dogfight, and the Chiefs win by 7 or 10. If you want to take Patty Mahomes player props, never a bad guy to bet on. I'm rolling with Kelsey. And again, Patty's had kind of a weird year, so it's just been a very weird year, picks wise and NFL wise. So, which leads us kind of to the weirdest game, I think, and the hardest game to pick out of the bunch, which would be Monday night Cardinals Rams. split in the regular season, just way different games in the regular season. It's, do you trust Kyler? Do you trust Matt Stafford? And, Cliff Kingsbury versus Sean McVay. And I'm probably going to lean more towards the Rams here, but after the way they played in their they have not given much reason to be confident in betting. So I will probably sit, but if I had to pick, I would probably roll with Stafford and McVay. But Cliff and Kyler are my top seed for plus money this week. So if you are looking for a plus money team to bet on, the Cardinals are the best plus money team that is an underdog this weekend. And so, Kyler's over under on like rush yards, something I'd look at. I would say Cup. I would hammer all of Cup stuff. I think Odell could get a touchdown. Sony Michel has the third most rush yards since he started. I think it was like week 13-ish. Since then, like Jonathan Allen, Rashard Penny, him. So maybe look for a Sony player prop or TD. And for T-Top's player props, we got Kelsey, Mixon, Jalen Hurts over rush yards. We're looking at potentially a Cup player prop, a Mahomes player prop potentially. And, we're going to probably take a lot of chalk in these first games, but there will be probably at least one underdog that wins. So good luck. May the good Lord bless you on your parlays in this weird season. And let's see what happens.